7:12 on October 12th, 2021, and we're starting our meeting. Boom.
And now,
And Matthew Patterson is the vice chair talking about starting the meeting. I would nominate Mark Boudreau if he wanted to serve for the remainder of his term as head.
I would accept that if there's a second, and obviously would prefer for
second.
tonight.
I second.
And Matthew, I am more than happy to have you oversee this meeting, seeing how I have not done it before and would rather have you do it if you're willing to. But I would accept that if that's the board's pleasure for me to act as chair.
I think that it would really be great, and I would certainly want to be vice chair.
Is anyone hearing that rebound?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hotels.
I guess I would certainly make that nomination. Should we close the first nomination first and then nominate for vice chair?
Yeah.
Yes, I will. So move to close. I'm getting the echo here. I don't. That's not going to work for me.
Wacky.
Let me try to.
So the question is, where's that coming from? Is it coming from one of our mics, or I guess where is the reverb?
So I'm assuming because it came from Matthew and came from Tara now that it's everybody's computer that's doing it.
Mary, are you now administrator of this Zoom?
Yes, I am now the host.
Can we close out, and will you still be if we try to reopen?
I do not think so.
No,
Only for this session that's now open.
going forward, Mary will be the host and she'll set up the links.
But I don't have that yet. There's a note from Callie, everyone mute. I just muted everyone. You can all unmute yourselves. So Aaron, at the moment, you're unmuted. Matthew, do you want to try again?
Yeah, how we doing? Whoa. Okay. So we're going to well, are there any other nominations for either of the positions? So we are going to, we've got to have a second for Mark, close nominations, and let's all vote. Those in favor of having Mark as the chair? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? There you go, Mark.
Thank you very much. I think.
No, thank you very much. Now we'll work together on this.
Yep. So I did make the nomination for Matthew. Is there a second for Matthew for vice chair?
Do we need to elect him again or place him again if we've already had him as vice chair?
It's true, I am vice chair acting, so I guess maybe not. Until our next meeting, and our next annual meeting will revisit
Right,
all.
so
of
you
this.
don't need to do that. Matthew can remain in vice chair
Right.
without doing anything.
Is there a procedure to replace John before the next meeting?
No.
Well, I think if you have someone who's interested, you can appoint them at the next meeting.
At the next
I-
March
I mean-
meeting or at the next meeting?
Right, I
meeting?
mean, I don't think anyone's here tonight.
I think actually our charter doesn't allow it.
No?
Okay.
I think it has to be at an annual meeting, which could create kind of a jeopardy for a board where if 3 people step down, you wouldn't have an acting government body, but I think that may be the case.
You know what? It is. I just looked.
That
So
we
it-
can't,
So
It
nobody
needs to
can
be a
step down.
4-member board until March.
okay. But there was in his letter of interest, Billy Rogers did say he would be zoning administrator or he would be happy to join the board. So he could be a potential member.
There's a number of potential members that we're working on for, for the March meeting.
Okay,
And I think the zoning stuff, we have to, that leads me to the chaos. So there's my notes here. But let's.
but we can go
we'll
through
get to
the
all
list.
that. Let's go to the
Yeah.
actual agenda that Lori put together. And start with review and approval of the minutes of the Tuesday, September 7 meetings.
I would
I
make a
move to
motion
approve. I
I will-
second.
I just finally got back to that email and found them, so I just want to go over them again. Okay,
Let
we
me
have a
know if you
second.
need the screen share.
Well, yeah, I'm not playing that game right now. One step at a time, okay? So we have a motion, and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes of September 7, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
it's unanimous.
Aye.
Next item, the warrant and approved payment of the bills.
And I will share a screen and show you those warrants.
Fantastic.
Well, I think I will. Why doesn't it say share?
There you go.
There. Do you see this, folks?
We do.
This is the payroll warrant in the amount of $11,272.50. I will note that there were a couple of things that actually would have been on last month's payroll, but we got them a little bit late for Kyle and Patrick.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the payroll warrant.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, let me see how I go back to this.
Just did. Good.
No, where's my other one? Oh, here we go. This is the village, the expense warrant. Again, there are some items on here towards the top that we had an early meeting, so they came in a little bit later. The large items on here is this, which is primarily paving of the Fire station. Green Mountain Power is the sum of all the bills. Murray Brothers was, that was, Norm, that was equipment, right? Murray Brothers?
No, I was fixing them.
Oh, that was the roof. Murray Brothers is fixing the depot roof, and this Seal Master is some equipment rental, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's crack sealing the road.
That is a total expenses of $41,295.02. Then, of course, remitting the withheld payroll taxes, so a total of $44,428.91.
And I'll accept a motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. So citizens' comments, who do we have on board here?
Most of the folks down at the end under the new business.
Well, so let's start with that to get them in and out of here, right? Except they're not.
So Michael Batcher is on Bratcher. I'm sorry, Michael, if I have your name wrong. Michael is on our screen here. Here at the depot in front of me is Jenny Cronin, her husband, Dana Rosicki, and the library board chair, Jennifer Phelps, are here at the depot. I can turn the camera around when they speak, and Norm is also here.
Maybe we can.
Don't forget Callie.
Oh, Chris Damon is also here, but not for the citizen comment portion.
Right. So, so let's go ahead with those agenda items as if they're, public comments. We can do that, all right? Just to, because we got a bunch of other stuff to deal with that none of them.
Yep, you're in charge.
So if we go to agenda item with things that, well, let's start with Callie. Item C.
Yes.
DRC, thanks.
Yes, great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Callie Fishburne, and I am the newest regional planner at BCRC, as well as the energy coordinator. Nice to see some familiar faces and meet some new people. Tonight, I'm here just to briefly talk about a municipal planning grant opportunity that we think it would benefit North Bennington to participate in. We're reaching out to trustees as well as planning commissions to discuss this opportunity. If you're familiar with municipal planning grants that come up each year for different planning projects, this year we have a special municipal planning grant that would allow us to do bylaw modernization work with some of our towns, specifically around your bylaws that focus on housing. And so the purpose of these updates, we would work with you to go through your bylaws and identify places where we could bring them up more into conformance with Vermont statute, as well as, reduce any regulatory barriers to the type of housing development and development in general that you would like to see in the village. We did a survey last year of all of our member municipalities, all of their bylaws, and identified areas for modernization, essentially. And that report is on our website, and we have a profile of each village and town, including North Bennington, where we discuss, the housing, the situation, the housing profile of your community, and then areas where your specific bylaws could be amended or updated to encourage, again, the type of housing you might be interested in seeing. So we have, again, specific recommendations for each municipality, and I can just give you some high-level points that we might be looking to work with North Bennington on. I don't want to get too much into the planning weeds with all of you, but basically there's a lot around updating regulations that pertain to accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, which would be like an in-law suite, or, you know, an accessory apartment that you have on your property as a single family home. The Vermont state has come out with some new regulations pertaining to ADUs that we're trying to work with, you know, towns that have ADU regulations to bring those more into conformance with the updated Vermont statute. So there's, you know, specific things about allowing, like, you know, the square footage and size of ADUs, and like whether they're within or out exterior to, you know, the building and that sort of thing. And basically just a variety of measures that could encourage more, you know, dense development in the village center area, so that, you know, services, public services are kind of more efficiently used and concentrated in, you know, denser areas. So that's kind of the very high level that we would be, you know, looking to work with you on. And of course, we'd primarily be working, I think, closely with your planning commission. So we'd like to discuss that with them as well. And we would be getting much more into the weeds with them. But basically, yeah, so BCRC would work with you, come up with some recommendations. You could, you know, choose to accept them and make those amendments or not. To participate in this bylaw modernization grant, it is through the Department of Housing and Community Development. And they do require a local match, which I don't recall what it would be for North Bennington off the top of my head, but I believe I sent to Lori the memo that includes, or it was sent to Lori by my colleague, perhaps. I don't know if it came from me. And if not, I can certainly make sure you get that. There's a memo that explains more about the project and what the local match would be, as well as a resolution that if you're interested in participating, you would pass the resolution and say you would participate. But yeah, there's a local match. And if you end up adopting any or all of the recommendations that we put forward, that local match would be waived by the state. So it would end up being at no cost to you. And if not, then you would, you know, just be out, I believe. Again, I apologize, I don't have the exact number, but
10% of the total, and I think the
Okay.
total in North Bennington was 6,000.
okay, so
Lori?
$600 would be
Yeah.
your match. And again, if you adopted anything that we came up with, that would be waived for you. So yeah, so we are just here to, you know, my colleague and I are speaking to different, you know, trustees and select boards about this to make you aware of it and answer any questions you might have, and see if you would like to participate by, again, signing a resolution and working with us.
That's great, Callie. That's we've kind of been looking for this kind of opportunity, or waiting for it, because it seems to come around, you know, about the time we need to do an update. We also got a lot of input from our community through some forums held by the Fund for North Bennington, and then the fund addressed me directly and John, you know, with a request that we really look at infilling the community in a more thoughtful way in terms of zoning. So I welcome this opportunity, and outside of the fact that we haven't passed such resolution, or maybe we discussed it in the previous meeting, but I did already sign that paperwork and give it to Lori before I left town. So she has that, but maybe Lori, is there kind of a short resolution that we can read? You're muted.
So I guess, you know, a resolution to accept the municipal, the FY22 Regional Bylaw Modernization Grant. How's that sound, Callie?
That sounds great to me too. And I think it also needs to be signed by the chair of the Board of Trustees. So
Yeah, which
So-
at the time last night, I thought I was probably chair, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
so we don't have, we do, but in the last 24 hours, we didn't have a chair. So,
I signed
Matthew
it
was the
as
chair.
interim at the time, so I think it's legitimate, but Mark can certainly sign again.
Okay, and you're also the chair of the planning commission, correct?
Apparently.
Okay, yeah, because it requires the two signatures of the planning commission
Oh,
chair.
I did. I signed
And-
both. I did
Okay,
sign for both.
okay, yeah, then that should be fine, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm looking at this, Callie, and it's signed, it's signed in both places for each chair, and it happens to be the same person.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine that it's the case
we're
in some
okay-
other
we're
towns
okay
as
with
well,
that?
so. Yeah, I mean, if he's the chair for both, then he's the chair for both, these things happen.
So I'll make some copies and send that out to you tomorrow.
That would be excellent, thank
Okay.
you.
yeah, thanks again. And we will be trying to get together again, our planning commission. Our planning commission has, over the last 5 years or so, dissolved in many ways because of, sadly, death and COVID and, lots of things. And so we really gotta, we gotta be sure we've got actually a quorum of a board to, to sit down with you all and get all that started. But as it stands now, I am the chair. I don't know that we've even made the proper appointments to keep those up to date with the COVID stuff going on, but we'll dig down into that and be in touch. Were you
Sounds
also
great.
gonna speak about anything about ARPA or anything?
I hadn't planned to, but I'm
Okay.
also the one of the point people at my office for ARPA funding. So if anybody does have ARPA questions, I could try to answer them, or if not, find the answer for you and get back to you. So I'm happy to do that, answer that as well.
I think given the size of our agenda tonight
Yeah.
and the problems we're already having, and I think we would like to ask you to come back and do that, maybe November or December. know
I
that-
also just, sorry, I just put my email in the chat. People can feel free to reach out to me if they have questions in the meantime as well. And also Erin has my contact information, and I believe Lori does as well. So yeah, I'd be happy to come back to a future meeting and discuss this. And also feel free to reach out to me in the meantime about bylaw modernization or this, or energy, because I'm also the energy coordinator. So
Great.
thank you for giving me time tonight. It was great to meet you all.
Take care. Have a good night.
Valerie, thanks.
And next, let's let Michael speak with us, and so he can go away. I mean, you're welcome to stay, but I'm sure you've got plenty of things to do.
Just want me to go away already. I just got here. Well, I'm Michael Batcher, and I'm actually probably the oldest planner at BCRC. So Callie and I are bookends. Now, some time ago, you put out a request for proposals for to redo or update your hazard mitigation plan, and we submitted a proposal, and you decided to hire us. And then I sent you an agreement to sign. We need an agreement, but I hadn't heard anything. So that's really why I'm here today, is to talk about getting this whole thing rolling. Have you all had a chance to look at this? Is this like so far in the past you forget, or should I try to remind you what we're doing, or what?
I'm gonna need a reminder.
Okay, so you did a hazard mitigation plan about 5 years ago, and I think myself and Allison Langsdale did the work on that. The plans are good for 5 years. They're an invention of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and what they basically do is identify natural hazards that could affect a community. So for example, a major one for you would be flooding. And we identify the different hazards and then try to determine which ones are the ones we should worry about the most, and then develop strategies to try to reduce or mitigate them one way or the other. And that's what we did the first time, and now it's time to do it again. Because like I said, they're only good for 5 years. it opens up the possibility of additional funding from the state in the event of disaster. It also opens up the possibility of applying for different kinds of hazard mitigation or flood mitigation grants. You may never, ever use any of this stuff, but it opens the door. Otherwise, you don't have the opportunity to do that. So it's really, it's not a requirement. You don't have to do anything that the plan says you're going to do, though many of these are good ideas, but it does open those possibilities. And that's really what it's about. It's like anything, it opens possibilities. Just like what Callie just talked about, it opens possibilities. So I would encourage you to go forward. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the agreement. Has anyone looked at the agreement? Because I hate to have you sign something when you haven't had a chance to really look at it. It's 6 pages long, so it's a little bit in depth to go through. I can go through it really
Michael,
quickly.
when did you first send this out?
Back in August.
Gosh, having talked to the previous chair, I thought that we had done this and gone through it, and I know that John has that material.
He does, but I've never gotten a signed copy back.
Okay.
And I do remember, I went through it again, and certainly, especially at the cost we're talking about, it averages out to about $2,000 a year for the potential of getting thousands and thousands of dollars in return. I think given that it hasn't been that long since we've had a natural disaster, it certainly is kind of, in my mind, a worthwhile document to sign and get moving on it. And I thought we already had done that, and maybe we just didn't finalize it.
You did get funding through Vermont Emergency Management to do this.
Yep.
And so that should pay for our time. And then there's probably a match requirement, which you can usually provide by time. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because I really will need people's time. I can't just go off and do this by myself. There's two aspects. One is looking at I'm going to collect a lot of information on past hazards and the like, and I need people from the town to look at that and go, yes, that affected us, or maybe it didn't, or we missed this one. There may be a storm. I don't have. I'm getting this data from various sources. It's not like there's a record of weather events or flooding events or anything just for North Bennington. So I have to glean it from other sources and make a series of maps. But also, I need your expertise in terms of developing strategies. Which ones are the best ones to work for North Bennington, and what the best way to operate this is for the trustees to either serve as or appoint a planning team. And the planning team can be whoever you'd like it to be. It would be good if, whether they're on the planning team or not, that they're at least involved, and that would be your fire chief and your road foreman. But we can involve anyone. We can involve businesses, school, because they're all potentially affected by this. But I need you to figure that out. Now, in some cases, the select boards have served that, or trustees. In other cases, they've pushed it onto the planning commission or the planning board. Other cases, there's been a mix of people. So one of the first steps is for you all to identify the team. Now, just to go quickly through let me go quickly through the processes. As I started to say, we normally collect a bunch of information, and I sit down with a team and say, okay, I need this ring a bell, because I give people the example. I'm what's called a cooperative weather observer. So every morning I go out and I measure the temperature and the rainfall and all that kind of stuff. If you asked me what the biggest snowstorm was last January, I wouldn't know, because I have to write it down, unless I went back through a record. So we go through records first, and then we talk to people who may remember or not remember that, and go, oh yeah, we had that, and that closed Main Street, that closed Water Street or whatever, and that was a problem. And so then we can figure out if there's any way we can reduce that problem, or same thing with flooding events. So once we go through that process, then we can begin to develop measures to mitigate those, which may be structural things like actually replacing a bridge or a culvert. It could be educational actions like I've been asking the towns to develop information for their citizens on how to shelter in place and things like that, because people just don't know. I mean, they don't realize that when the power goes out, they're not going to have water for a while. And so maybe it's worth storing water. So there's lots of fun things that we could generate that are good ideas for people to do that they can use to protect themselves. Once we go through all this stuff, all this process, it comes back to you all because you're the ones who are going to have to adopt this plan. So once you're content with it, then we send it to the surrounding towns, which in your case is just basically Bennington and Shaftesbury. And after that, we send it to Vermont Emergency Management for them to review, and they will tell us whether or not it passes muster. And if it doesn't, they will tell us what we need to fix or change. We'll fix it and we'll send it out again. And at some point, you'll be able to adopt it, and it'll be your plan. The schedule I think I worked out was pretty much all of next year to work on this, because it takes a while, first of all, and people are busy. So we could probably write this in a week, but nobody has a week of 40 hours to do this. So we spread it out over a longer period of time. Is this all kind of making sense?
Yes, so I found the original agreement in August and I've emailed it to everybody.
Okay.
And
I since
it
made a
now-
little revision because I think I had starting in September, and now we're
Right.
in October, so I made a change
Right.
there. So
I've been involved in two of these processes, presumably 5 and 10 years ago,
Mhm.
possibly 15 years ago. And one kind of builds on the other in that,
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of information that's already gathered. Phone numbers change, actors change within the community. But who was the previous woman who did this maybe 5 years ago?
well, Allison worked on it and I worked on it. I think Allison may have been the primary person at the time.
Right.
Um,
That was
but,
about when I changed careers and suddenly had no
Yeah.
time to do anything. And
I
so
remember she might have been having a baby at the time too, and I may have taken over because I'm sorry, I can't remember the trustee. It was a woman who helped us a lot, and I can't remember her name.
Janice Larigo.
There you go, Janice. There we go.
it was Janice, and then she handed
Yeah.
all that over to me. Yeah.
But we also, Michael and Matthew and everyone, so we did have members from the school involved in this planning
Mhm.
team because I remember doing all this. And I know we have the documents, so.
I do
So
too.
you're right. We did have people from the village school and we put together a lot of those. What I remember most and the fire chief was shelter in place and in case of flooding, where do you go and all that sort of thing.
Chain of command, contact numbers, what resources do you have in any given building?
Absolutely.
Some of
Generator.
that's in your local emergency management plan. So these are two different things. The
Okay.
Yep.
emergency management plan deals with how do you deal with a specific crisis, where this is dealing with mitigating hazards. Actually, I remember speaking about the fire chief. I remember one we came up with was you have a great firehouse and it's your shelter and it's also in the flood zone. And I think
Yeah.
we talked about the idea, maybe we even need to find a better spot for that. And I think your fire chief at the time was very, very interested in that. The question would be, could we get hazard mitigation funds to do that? But that's a longer discussion. But those are the kinds of
Flooded in 300
those are the
years.
kinds of actions we're talking about.
Yeah. So like I said, I do have the agreement sent in August. If it's enough to cross out one, change the date by a month, or if you want to reissue to Lori.
I sent it to Lori. Lori, I don't know if you got a chance to send it out to everybody again. Or
I
I
don't
made it.
think we got it again, but
Yeah, you did. You sent it to both John and I think,
Uh-huh.
Michael. And John was going to take care of that. So maybe I need to follow up with John.
Matthew, you're right. If you just want to change the date to October, it's fine because not much else changes. You have however way you want to do it.
and Mark, as the chair and as the individual in town, you could sign that after we pass a resolution to authorize the doing of this project.
Sure.
And then Lori could get it back to Michael. And put the wheels in motion.
Well, the first wheel needs to be identifying a planning team, and you may not want to do that tonight because you have a full agenda, but maybe that's something we can put on your next meeting agenda and you can be thinking about in the meantime, if you'd like to do it that way.
A team
Whatever
of community members and possible board members and everything.
Yes.
People,
Yeah.
obviously our fire chief or, you know, school
Mhm.
school members, all that stuff.
Sure.
Please.
I don't know if there are any businesses you'd want to involve. I mean, so
Yeah. People down on Water Street or,
and they don't all have to be in a team. The key is to make sure you can reach out to them, whether, you know, you're just keeping them informed, whether it's through I know you don't have a website, but do you have a Facebook page?
working on it.
You have a Facebook page?
No.
You work on that too, or, well, anyway,
On a webpage.
Front Porch Forum is a really great way to get information out to the community. So that's a way too, to just say, okay, we're working on this. Anybody interested? Call whomever, and you'll get a response. And yeah, if you get your website going, that would be a good way. You put out a newsletter over the course of the year at all, or no?
Nothing other than the annual report.
Well, we could put it in that. We're working on this. That would be good for people to know. Anyway, we can get outreach would be great for people.
There is a group on Facebook that is the group called North Bennington. I'm not sure who runs it, but it has 900 members. And if they're all residents, that's a lot.
Yeah. So if you can ask them if they'll post some stuff, that would be great. Yeah.
Okay,
Whatever
so are
works
we
for
all
you
in
all.
favor of proceeding with this? So all those in favor of having Mark sign the proposal or the from Michael and getting it back to him, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, Mike, and I'm so sorry that there's been a lot of there's just been a lot going on, and
That's okay. I understand. And you got even more going on now.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
we'll have to find you a shadow trustee board so that people can bring stuff to them and while you do the real work. But anyway,
Great.
I may see if I can get on your agenda next time too, so we can talk about the planning team if that's okay with you.
Okay, so maybe November.
That'd be great.
All right.
So Lori, if I can, I'll email you, maybe we can get on that. All right, listen, I appreciate your having me on tonight.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, is Jenny there?
I'm unmuted, anxious and waiting. I'm gonna spin this around. So Jenny, you can go down and that way yes, all of you should be visible. Are they visible for you?
Right, can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. Hi, I'm Jenny, I'm the director of the Municipal Library. I have brought my homework. So last time we met, I was asked to go and ensure community support for a request for $15,000 in ARPA funding. That was dispersed to the village of North Bennington, be directed toward wiring and plumbing. Just to fund part of the wiring and plumbing on the library's renovation project. These capital improvements are necessary, they're happening, and I have 45 signed petitions in support. Let's see, and there were a couple that just they didn't make it all the way through the online form. But I also had 17 folks who weren't sure if they were Shaftesbury residents or North Bennington residents in addition to these 45. So I can leave these here, but they're here, they're signed in support of that. I'd also like to point out that these were released last Thursday online and at book pickup. Had I opened that window longer, I'm sure I would have had more signatures. So, yeah, I can leave these here with Mary.
I'll give them to Lori.
And yeah, so I'm not sure what the next step is after demonstrating support for that.
Jenny, what was the, to go back to the previous discussions about this, what was the amount of money you were seeking?
So the total came to, in our original proposal, 14,617. That was 30% of the electrical wiring, drinking fountain pipes leading to all the sinks, and ventilation for the restrooms. In that meeting, it was rounded to 15,000.
Okay, and what is your timeline on this project, and has it been done, or are you doing it, or will it be done in the spring?
I have the first exploratory work for the front of it on Friday. We're due to start later this month. And the second part of the question was?
I think that was the same, just whether you were doing it now, had it been done?
No,
Um,
we're on the cusp.
Okay,
This is a shovel ready to go project.
so Mary, you sent out tonight some new figures to us.
Yes, I did.
And I found those rather compelling numbers. I don't know, you know, I feel like this is a pretty small request, and I'm not sure the procedure that we thought we might follow going forward with community input, but as it appears, we can spend this money now.
You can, I can share the opinion that I received from the VLCT ARPA experts.
Mhm.
The village trustees may disperse all, some, or none of these without any other votes other than yourself. While it's a best practice to gain support, which we discussed at the last meeting, that is why Jenny has the 45 plus signatures of support.
Yep,
And I would suspect that if we held a meeting, we would not have 45 people attend.
precisely.
That's true.
And given the fact that this is a project that needs to get done, and because there is a significant amount of funding there, or that will be there in the course of the next year, I'm going to make the motion that we commit 15,000 of that to the Part McCullough Library.
I
I
can
would
get behind
second
that.
that.
Yeah,
We had seconds on that?
Yes,
You know, we're gonna get a lot of requests, and then it's gonna be, you know, having to, but it seems to me it's calling pitches and fouls and or Mark would know the better, you know,
balls and
terminology.
strikes,
Thank you.
balls and strikes.
But this is a strike for sure. I mean, it's the center of the whole thing, and I would like to think that in the end of this, we might even be able to come back with remaining funds to do something else with the library. So we have a second. I'll ask for a vote to provide $15,000 in the ARPA funding money for the library to upgrade a number of its energy and other needs.
This is specifically water,
This was,
and some,
And wiring.
and some
It's
wiring,
water
yes.
wiring.
So
And
it is,
ventilation.
it is within the,
Pardon?
And ventilation.
necessary wiring upgrades and water fountain upgrades.
Yes, I have the complete details if anyone needs them for what this request was for.
I do not.
Okay, it was electrical wiring, drinking fountain and pipes leading to it, pipes leading to all 3 sinks in the building, and ventilation for bathrooms, specifically ventilation in those bathrooms.
Perfect.
and should you need really specific, it falls under section 1.7 of the USDA of the Department of Treasury acceptable uses.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I think it's a fantastic project. It's unanimous. Thank you so much for getting the people's opinion on this. And Mary is exactly right. We could do everything, even if we had a vote, you know, at the depot, we wouldn't get 45 people to show up to. So you've got good support behind this, and I'm confident of that.
And I would say happy, enthusiastic support. It didn't require a lot of convincing. It seemed like folks were pretty positive about it.
Fantastic.
So thank you.
And thank you. Have a good night. What's next? Is Kathy here?
Not, no one is waiting
Okay,
that I can see.
that was a project she didn't know whether she should bring to the board or not, and I kind of decided in discussions with her a few weeks ago that really wasn't something that needed to be requested. She's going to make use of some of the marble in the village to be used at the school. And so it's not a private use, which is a whole separate issue. There's lots of requests of people wanting marble. But this is an art project in commemoration of her mother, the great Jean McWaters. They're going to make a bench out of some of those stones, and it will be placed at the village school, where Jean was very much involved. So I think that is, I'm swiping over here. Mile Around Woods. Norm, you still there?
Just another minute.
Okay. So before your report, which I hope, I'm sure will be brief, but the Fund for North Bennington is requesting, and correct me if I've got this wrong, Lori, but to help, it was about dogs, having a dog thing there, right? Dog waste.
So some waste containers at the other, and more waste containers for people to use for their dog's waste. So
And
there were 2, there's one already there, and they wanted them in different locations as well.
is there one at the main entrance where most people go currently?
Yes,
And the fund is seeking perhaps another one at the other entrance, if I'm not further
Actually,
west.
Norm, I think the only one is at the entrance to the McCullough Mansion. I don't think there's one at the entrance to the Mile Around Woods access where the parking is there?
Yes, there is.
There is one. Okay. I stand corrected.
There is one, you know, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, but it's just kicking the problem to somebody else. Those barrels are absolutely 100% disgusting. You know, when somebody's walking their dog down the street, they take a bag, they pick it up, and they put it where they, you know, they deal with it. It's just keeping adding those things is terrible. When you know, they throw trash in it, and then the lid stays open and it fills with water, and now I gotta pick it up. They're the most gross things in the face of the planet.
So, yeah, my question would be,
I'll do whatever you tell me to do, but I'm not in favor of it at all. I don't even like the one we have.
so I guess my question would be, why are we emptying? Why are
We
we
didn't bring a
emptying?
dog there. Somebody brought a dog there that they can take their own stuff home. Again, that's, maybe it's too hard of a line, but that's my opinion. We don't have a park staff that drives around and that's all they have to deal with.
So, Mark, I think the answer is that the fund views the access to those hundreds of acres of land as a public service. And then they would view at entrances on public right-of-ways, having a place where the waste can go instead of on the middle of the trail where people walk. You know, that's an ongoing discussion. I'm wondering if there aren't, you know, in those municipal equipment catalogs, the kinds of things that would, one, restrict all kinds of garbage going into it other than a little bag of dog poop, and would also keep, you know, the rain out. And if it would be something that could be changed, you know, I would think on at least a weekly basis. And I know that's a job, Norm, but if those conditions could be met, and if the fund was willing to supply us with such a device, which I think is what they're suggesting, and I'll come to the next issue about bike racks, but this all comes out of discussions the fund has had with a number of community members. And I agree, you know, just having an open pit that they throw their whatever into is really not very productive.
Well, it's not. It's a receptacle made for that, but it's a horrible mess.
Are there better ones?
It's still the same process.
Yeah, you still have to pull the poop out of the thing and put it in another garbage can and do whatever you do with it. But to be fair, I think if we could make that as easy as possible and part of a routine where you are also, I mean, you deal with the garbage at the Lions Park.
What's that?
You deal with the garbage at the Lions Park?
We deal with all the garbage in the town.
Right. So I think if it becomes part of the routine, it may not be something it's not the favorite part of your day or whoever's day, but I think it could really improve the quality of the experience that people have at the mile around and other places.
There's one online that is mesh, so it wouldn't fill up with water. So at least that would make it slightly less disgusting. They'd probably still use it as,
Because the one we have is mesh. It's you have to put a bag there.
yeah. Oh,
And so, you know, it is what it is. To make a decision and just move on. It's you know, you know, you've heard my opinion. I'm the guy who runs the village as far as the maintenance side. You know, people bring their dogs home everywhere in town. They take their little bag with them and they go home. It's just kicking the problem down the road to somebody else. So if you tell me to get them, then we'll get them.
Well, again, my experience is that they might do the bag part and then they'll set the bag down on the edge of the trail. And I've seen that repeatedly up there.
Again, that goes back to educating the dog walker, not sending the problem to somebody else.
Let me get some clarification from Rob and the fund as to whether they're willing to put forth the funds to install said receptacle. But I am in favor of it if that is the case.
I would imagine that they would. But
What was that? I missed that part.
I would say they probably would do that.
Okay. Well, let me clarify that. So we're not, don't have to make a definitive on that right now. The next item is bike racks. The fund will pay to install bike racks, I think in a couple locations. I pointed out that many years ago, a fellow in town who worked for the BCRC a little bit secured from them a bike rack that then went into the basement of Powers Market. Last I heard that it was there when we were waiting to install it either at Powers or maybe at Pangea. I'm still waiting to hear anything from the owners there, but is anybody opposed with the fund helping suggest a few places maybe where bike racks would be a good place? And if anybody wanted to have input about what they look like. I think the ones that we have are just basically hoops that then get set in concrete. Very simple, kind of like what I see all over Burlington up here.
Yeah, I, in speaking to some recent Bennington graduates, one of them may be interested in doing something artistically more unique. I don't know if we wanted to pursue something other than just a basic, but he's, artistically inclined and working in fabrication right now. And they might be willing to do that if we wanted something that wasn't just your everyday rack. Just putting that out there for thoughts.
I like art.
Yeah.
I'm all about art, yeah. And I think it's a great opportunity for that. I've seen a lot, actually, lots of ideas online of ways of, they still have to be functional and they also have to be, rugged.
Yep.
And
But if we're interested, then we could put it out, like I could ask them to, it's 2 kids. I could ask them to create a proposal to give us some idea of what it would look like.
Yep.
Okay.
I would think that there would be something if the fund is bringing this idea forward, it'd probably be a good idea to run it by them too, just out of courtesy.
I did.
And they were, okay.
They
So,
said,
I
yeah,
guess-
they'd be interested in something unique. I don't know if there'd be a cost behind it, but I can find that out and maybe we'll have something a little more artistically pleasing and unique for the village.
I wouldn't want that to, I wouldn't want the one that we might still have go to waste. I would recommend that getting installed somewhere, but I think.
Well, and I'd be curious about locations too, because maybe the one that we have could go somewhere specific that makes sense, and then the ones that might be a little more artistically unique could go more public.
Yep. All right, so let's continue that discussion. Obviously, we're all in favor of the idea. I know
Are there
that,
bike racks at the lake?
yeah, old
There used
school,
to be.
old school, right? Like the old line with the slots that you,
Yeah, kind of looks like a swinging gate that is stationary.
Oh, okay.
but yeah, there's a lot of places that can happen, and Norm
Yeah.
just love that they're gonna pop up everywhere and he has to mow around them, but they typically are set in concrete somehow on a pad that makes it, not too bad.
Well, that, and I think given the size of the village, I mean, we don't need 30 of them spread all over. I mean, immediately what comes to mind would be, obviously, the depot, we have that. It could be right by the charging station or somewhere over by the storage shed in an existing parking that wouldn't take up much parking and wouldn't be a nuisance to mow around. So I think we could be And I would certainly welcome Norm's advice as to where best to put them, so it's at least impact to their work.
I think
Yep.
we need to talk to the fund as well, because this idea came from the meeting that they had midsummer, where people proposed, we need this, that, and the other thing for the village, and they got behind the idea, but there might have been specific places that proposing person wanted them. So the fund might actually have some ideas or recommendations as well.
Yeah, they do. It's spelled out in the email that I got,
Okay,
but I don't recall exactly what it is. Maybe Kevin's, maybe Pangea, maybe the station, that kind of, although something more interesting at the school and something, maybe at the bank, left bank. We'll move on from that. That's a feel-good one.
it's in the works.
Yep, in the works. What am I missing on new business? I wanted Norm, you got a report?
As far as just working around the village, got our painting done. Roadside mowing's done. That little project at school we're dealing with, we're cleaning, almost all the manholes are done, they should be done Thursday. And then just start getting ready for winter. So, paving the firehouse is done, it'll be stenciled on Friday. The sign went back up for everybody to move their car out. We got some signs to put up for the, around the village for the winter. We didn't get our EV charging signs, I don't know when they'll come, but we'll put the posts in. And that's about it.
You happy with the results of the parking lot?
Yep, looks good. There'll be one handicap spot put in and two, parking for emergency fire department personnel. And they'll be marked out tomorrow, and then the rest will be the same thing, 72-hour parking.
Very good. Any other questions for Norm? Then Norm, I think you should go home unless you've got something else.
Nope.
Thank you for your patience. The DRB, so we covered that with the zoning regulations and the update with the BCRC's proposal. The planning commission, the only thing we have there is that we've got to kind of reconstitute and figure out where we're at with that, so that we can be available for zoning stuff that's going to be forthcoming. In addition to that, is our zoning administrator who stepped down in July, Chris Damon, and I want to thank him for the work he's done for us and keeping us on our toes with a lot of this stuff during this time. But as it stands, we don't currently have a zoning administrator. And that's been the case over the course of many years, off and on, because of various tragic circumstances. And Chris has offered to stay on as an acting zoning administrator, but must be appointed as such. And one option is for our board to do it, and the other is for the zoning or the planning commission to do it. And again, because we're still figuring that all out, I think that it makes more sense that the village trustees appoint him officially as the acting zoning administrator, while we wait for, I guess now there's 3 possible interested candidates to do the job. Does that sound
Well,
right?
I think Matthew and Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was some interest in the position and they were asked to submit a letter of, or just a simple email of interest to me that I would pass on to you by today. And 2 of those people did.
Okay,
And
Yeah, I had about 5 people that expressed interest, but only 2 followed through with the letter.
okay.
And I
Well-
did mail those out to you all. I
Yes,
hope you got them.
I saw them. So that, and I emailed Chris, when I got up here to Burlington and read my email and saw all that, and got a letter from John saying, that we should do it this way. And I said, no, I think we'll do it this way. Is that Chris sitting there?
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah,
Are
I
you
came down,
okay
I
with
didn't
it?
know if you would have questions about how this is to be done. And trying to align that with what you wanted to do. And the answer I came up with, until you get a candidate to a point, that I would stay on as acting zoning administrator, because this is kind of an evergreen process. You can't just walk away from it. We're getting mail every day. There's invoices to be paid. There's forms to be filed and so forth. So even if you get somebody tomorrow, you're still going to have a training period to go through. And there's going to have to be an exchange of, getting the job up and running for that individual.
Yep.
Give a little timeline there. So, and I guess the other benefit is if you have an acting zoning administrator, if your ZA is out, illness, travel, whatever, you have somebody that's in the pipeline following up and taking over the job. So, and I just needed to know what you wanted me to do, because technically we don't have a ZA or an acting ZA right now.
And that's what I was getting at, is that I think what I would hope that you would do for us, and really appreciate, is that you allow us to appoint you officially as acting ZA tonight, while we vet the other 2 possible candidates, and try to quickly turn around, and get somebody there so you can be relieved of your duties. I also understand you have an interest in the DRB, is that correct?
Yeah, if I can't do that as
No.
ZA or acting ZA, but
I know
once
that.
the ZA comes on board, if you did not want to continue with the second position of acting ZA, I would like to serve on the development review board.
Right. Yeah, and I think that would be great.
Me too.
But we have to get those folks together. Do you have any openings, Tara, at the moment?
I believe we have 2 right now. Jim
Correct,
is
yeah.
our chair, I'm the vice chair, and then we've got Hugh Kroll. But I think that's everyone right now. So I think we have 2 openings on the DRB.
So
We
let's
have a
get
new gentleman up on Prospect Street that's also on the board.
that's Hugh.
No, there's another gentleman. that's
Oh, at the
across
top.
from-
Oh, did we appoint
I
Kim?
can't think of his name.
Kim, we did.
Kim, I think we
Yeah.
put Kim on a couple of months ago.
That's correct.
So we have 1 position open, so
Still.
you could certainly fill that once we figure out the
Once this is
ZA
all
stuff.
sorted out, which may take a month, it might take 2 months, but at some point in the future, if there's still a need, I'd like to do that.
Fantastic. So I'll entertain a motion to appoint Chris Damon, our previous zoning administrator, to be interim zoning administrator until we can find, secure, and train his replacement.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Chris, thanks so much for just dogging this down. I mean, there's a lot going on right now in my world, and it's great to have somebody give me a nudge and say, hey, you got to dot this I and do this and do that. So.
Okay, well, I'll just continue on with what I'm doing and be involved in the training and transition of the new person when they're found.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Is talking about the letters of intent something we want to do publicly or
No,
no?
I think, yeah, I think, no.
Okay.
Just because I mean, it is kind of a hiring thing, even, it's a,
Paid position.
yeah. Okay. Water board. It was brought to our attention by a letter from the head of the board. I mean, that Arla Samsel's position is expiring, and per the charter requirements, they proposed 2 candidates to us. Turns out one of them is not eligible to be on the board, so we're back to this. We got 1 candidate, and that's the one that's Arla, which I have no
Actually,
problem.
excuse me, Matthew, I sent you another email a little later today. There was a resubmission of the letter. Did you all get that? With a second? Okay, with a
Yes.
second name, Chris, the Shasbury resident's name was removed and a new name was put in its place. So I did mail that out to you.
Anybody know what time that was?
I don't know. It was
It
during.
was midday.
Is it this morning, maybe?
Yeah, I got it this morning and I
Got it.
sent that out to you.
Got it.
All.
Okay.
Probably lunchtime when I came home for
I have
lunch.
it. I got it at 7:30 from you this morning. And I was on the
That
road.
early, huh?
Well, we had already been texting, so oh God. Oh, where did my Zoomer go? I lost my Zoom. So you all see that there are 2 nominees, and I expect it's clear what the board is looking for, and I have no reason to not, in this case, oppose that. How do we do this, Lori?
Just appoint whoever you'd like to appoint.
I'd make a motion that the person who's been on that board and with great deal of experience, Arla Samsel, be reappointed for another 5-year term to the Board of Water Commissioners, Village of North Bennington.
I would second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And it's unanimous. And how do I get back to my Zoom? How do I see you guys again?
We see you.
I know
see
you do.
Matt.
Yeah,
You just have to click back onto your Zoom app or Zoom link wherever you are.
no, but
You're probably minimized somewhere.
no,
Are you on a Mac or a PC?
Mac.
Then click back on your Zoom link app on the main screen.
Well, and it just opens up like scheduling.
Can you re-click on the link?
I can probably do that.
I
Well,
think
that's-
I've done that before.
That's asking a lot, but tell you what, man. Well, I don't need to be on there
Keep talking.
to keep talking. I just need to go to our there. Fire department, nothing. Right now, DRB, fire department, water department. God, have we covered? No. So then there's things that are
Hey, don't forget about me.
what?
Treasurer's
Oh,
report.
Jesus. I mean, excuse me. Yeah. Item number 4. Mary, I'm so sorry.
I'm happy to go last because I'm here to close up. So talk about whatever else you want. Just don't go away before I speak.
Okay. Notes here. The only other, the only action that I need, and this is something we already discussed, so it's not a new item. It's just that I want to kind of have some clarity from the board. We did receive notice that the certificate of public good had been submitted by the attorneys of Tilson regarding the tower on Mechanic Street. And our attorney is willing to prepare response on our behalf. And I just need to know that everybody's okay with that.
Didn't that already happen?
So, yeah, so what happened is that the company submitted in July their letter of intent. And then there's a 60-day period.
Yeah.
And that 60 days ended on September 30th. And they immediately submitted to the state their documents, which I think you have a copy from, maybe from Lori. It's a full description of the project and plan.
Yes.
And
Yeah, but I mean, I thought we already, didn't we say the last meeting that we were gonna prepare? I thought we said we were gonna have our lawyer prepare a letter against that. It may have even been 2 meetings ago.
well, what I'm saying is that letter probably already occurred as an initial salvo. And now that the thing is
Oh, I
out
see.
there.
So they recognize that we objected. They're
Yep.
moving forward anyway, so we have to object again to a different,
Yep.
to the
That's fine.
state, or
That's my
whoever they
understanding.
submitted the place. Okay, I'm sorry.
So I just wanted, before I do that, I was just doing some paperwork for Lori before I left yesterday, and I thought I would just wait till tonight to get that input from y'all, and then I will just send the attorney John had sent out a thing saying our attorney, if asked, will proceed with this, and I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and I think we are. So I'll do that. God, how do
I was under the impression that I'm having a hard time understanding how they could get that approved. If there is a huge tower that just went in and the state pretty much said they encourage, if not require, cohabitation. So assume that with a letter from our lawyer saying we don't approve of it, and the state realizing there's a tower right there, I'm hoping this is just a formality.
I imagine that will be the tact of our attorney, but I don't want to, I don't want to presume.
Sure.
Plus, it's not just the state is involved, but there's also federal regulations that allow, allow some of these companies more freedom than you might wish that
Mhm.
that they had. So
Okay.
let's just take it from here and hope that and what else do we have tonight? Am I missing anything?
It can go, I was gonna do this under new business and I realized we pushed citizen comment to new business and kind of commingled it, but this could be very quick. Alyssa Del Tufo just got a hold of me and she's also interested in a few projects for the ARPA money. She sent me an email. I spoke with her and just asked her to send me an email so that I would bring it up at this meeting. The few things they were thinking about, some is signage at the tune of $8,000 to $10,000 for kind of public information about the lake, that type of project. They are also looking at a hydro raker that would take care of all the growth that is happening with the weeds and everything else. That is to the tune of $100,000 for the hydro raker. And the last thing they were proposing is the potential discussion anyway, and the possibility of maybe using some ARPA funds if the village itself were interested in purchasing the property and somehow turning it into a municipal entity. Certainly we would want kind of the same standard we put to the library. I can get back to her and just say that we would love for her to come to the next meeting, showing some similar letters of support and potential what they are asking for exactly, because I can't imagine she was thinking that we would be able to give them $110,000 of the ARPA money, but I would maybe if she had a proposal of what they were planning on doing in terms of fundraising in addition to the funding that we might be able to put. I mean, obviously it's a worthwhile cause. So if you want, I will follow up with her to ask her to potentially come to the next meeting with some more detailed information and possibly some letters of support.
I think that'd be great. I mean, I think there are a lot of projects that might be great for that. You know, what goes around comes around, but we've talked about finding a way to stabilize that organization through ownership for a long time. And that's the kind of project that you know would take the 3 years that we have to spend money, just getting it all put together.
Mhm.
And finding, I'm not talking about the hydro rake because that's a non-starter. I mean, that it's not all that effectual. I think as we've demonstrated year after year that, but as far as more of a long-term solution, it's certainly worth a public discussion, but that involves a lot more funding and co-participation of other organizations that we would need to have a large community discussion about that.
Mhm.
So yeah, if she wants to come, that'd be great.
Okay, I will follow up with her on that. That's all I have.
Okay. What else? Lori, am I missing anything?
Just Mary.
Oh yeah,
You're missing Mary and
and then,
maybe a really, really quick executive session.
right, the one Mark had mentioned, yeah. I'm not sure how you.
Well,
Oh, you got
I-
another one?
I just had something that you're aware of, but yeah,
Okay. Does it fall into one of the categories of contractual or real estate or personnel,
Legal.
legal?
You're muted, Lori. You're muted, Lori.
yes, it falls under legal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Still looking for that link here again, so I could see y'all. Be so
Why don't
nice.
Why don't we let Mary go and you can search for it while she's talking?
Okay, Mary.
Because we can see you, Matt.
I better before he forgets me a third time. So I do have 5 notes. I'll be as quick as I can, actually 6. First, I do want to thank the trustees for reappointing or appointing Chris Damon as acting zoning administrator. The zoning administrator and the treasurer do have to interact on many things. And I must say that Chris's communication and his follow-up on any questions that I've had are just top-notch. So thank you for doing that. And I'm glad that Chris will be here to train the next person.
Excellent.
Second note, the 2020 audit was finally completed, and that was the single audit that was required federally, and that was all as a result of all the monies that was received for the water line improvement grant that has been filed and accepted federally. So that's good. That was also holding us up on getting reimbursement from state grants. So we're all good with that. The insurance renewal is all done, all good and sent in. So that is good. And I communicated everything with Norm and with the water department to make sure we should be up to date on that. Taxes, tax bills are all out. If anybody in the public is still awake and listening, if you did not get a tax bill, call this number, 442-5547. I'll repeat it, 442-5547. If you believe you have mailed your tax payment, please make sure you check your bank statement. If it didn't clear your bank, I do not have it. So every year somebody thinks it was mailed, and I don't want anyone to have to go through that. Another very important date, extremely important, is October 15th is the last day that people can submit or correct their homestead declaration. We still have people that I know should have a homestead adjustment, and it is not yet. I have not yet seen it. So please, if you're listening, don't let that October 15th deadline pass.
Mary, just quickly, isn't that something we do in this when we do our taxes in the spring?
Yes, it is generally filed, or the first opportunity is when a person would file their Vermont taxes. You can, however, file your homestead declaration, your 122 and your 144, which is the adjustment, the income adjustment, without filing your taxes. So if somebody says, gee, I haven't gotten a chance, or I'm late, or whatever, still file those. You don't need to wait. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that in-person tax collection hours, with Maria Scully's help this year as assistant tax treasurer and tax collector, we are greatly expanding our in-person hours. And starting on Monday, we will be here for 2 hours virtually every day. We are going to be here 3 Saturdays for a couple of hours. The notices of these hours are posted in the kiosk down in the main part of town. It's in the post office, the library, 2 windows in the depot, and tomorrow it will also be in the Shaftesbury post office. It is also with both the Shaftesbury and the Bennington tax collector's office. It will be in the newspaper running the weekend of the 23rd and the 30th. So lots more time for people to bring in their taxes in person. The electric vehicle charging station is up and running. If any of the member of the public have tried it, there was a hiccup. We had a software problem, then we had a hardware problem. It is up and running, but the internet connection is really slow. So don't give up on it. You just have to stand there for a minute or so and it will connect. I've done it a couple of times. Quick note on ARPA, I did send you all some information. I will continue to send you more. I have now been to 5 webinars, and I will be attending more. All the documents that I've sent you, I do encourage you to read them. I have read every word of every one and more, but I'm only sending you the ones that I think will probably be most helpful. I will be also sending you some links to some sites where it lists what other communities are doing with their ARPA monies. And I think it's kind of informative and helpful to know where we can be. Although the $530,000, what did I say, that we'll be receiving, it's not transformative to the whole village, but it certainly can be transformative to some projects. And within the allowable categories, they are specific, but fairly broad within the specifics. So if you do have questions, please feel free to ask. I'm really educating myself on a lot about this. The other thing, if you would like, there are several resources, municipal resources, who will come help facilitate public meetings. If trustees wish that to be done and would like to task me to find one of these resources and begin to start that process, I will happily do so. And that's the last of my notes.
You know, you're gonna be, I think probably you're gonna be one of the biggest and best ARPA resources in the whole state. And that maybe.
Oh, there's plenty of us. There's plenty of us.
Well, I'm thinking back to Act 46 when everybody and their dog thought they were gonna be a consultant for, you know, for Act 46 communities and stuff. You, on the other hand, actually know what you're talking about. Unlike
Like Mary, sorry, you know, Mark just brought up like the lake and the cleaning of the lake, or what was it, the rake?
hydro rake, yep.
The hydro rake. I mean, I'm just looking at I'm looking at the thing you sent and what the fund uses are. I mean, does that fall under a category?
I think the hydro rake might be a stretch, but what is allowable, and it's actually under the health part, is anything that improves access to public places, anything that improves access to the outdoors. For instance, if the village had a piece of property and wished to collaborate with a private venture or even on our own to create a little outdoor eating area, and then carved out a little space where food trucks could come in on a weekend, that would be allowable. Matter of fact, I mentioned that because I have some ideas in the back of my head. The shameless plug, as Jenny would say. Things like you can't fix potholes, you can't fix roads. But if you remember, we've all been to places where they closed a city or a town would have closed a road to the public and then let the restaurants set up things outside. If a municipality had done that, they can use ARPA monies now to hardscape that entire area. And if that meant rerouting, all of that kind of stuff, it could be done. So yes, there are a number of things that could be wide open to improve our access to the outdoors, to our municipal area. Another idea is put a 1/4 mile walking and jogging path around McWaters Park. I would be there every day. You know, things like that. So there's really a lot of ideas. I'm thrilled that, you know, the folks at Lake Perrin have been thinking of this. But this is maybe where we do have some of the municipal resources come and help get the greater community involved. And even if there's 10 people that show up.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, even if it's 10, just to have people in the same
Yeah.
room talking about it.
And you can do public-private partnerships with this. There's no reason you couldn't.
Well, I think, you know, the looming beneficial group in our community is the Fund for North Bennington, and them having these community meetings is a great model for what
Exactly.
we probably should be doing with the bulk of this money. But like you said, we have discretion. And even they holding such forums where the focus is, you know, what are these little needs around the community that they might want to partner with, but to leverage the ARPA money for.
Right. And we can get some of the, there are several groups, the acronyms of them are escaping me right now, but I encountered them and they presented at the town hall meetings, the virtual meetings that I attended last week. And they could come help set up a meeting, facilitate it in coordination with BCRC and or Fund for North Bennington and or Sage City Syndicate and or Lake Perrin, you know, to get all of the folks who have such a genuine interest in the betterment of North Bennington. And, you know, $508,000 isn't transformative to the entire community, but boy, it could do a lot for selected projects.
Yeah, I agree.
So let me know and I'll get to work.
Thanks, Mary. I won't forget you again. Do we have anything else that I'm missing on the agenda, or do we go into a very brief executive session for legal? So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive.
Now, here's the thing. I do not attend executive sessions, but I need to then make someone host.
You're attending this one.
Oh, okay.
No, it involves,
Okay.
yeah. So all those in favor?
Aye.
I want to thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, Kat.